Welcome to the Wilson Combat YouTube channel. I'm Ken Hackathorn, and this is another episode of the Masterclass series. And like most of the stuff I do out on the range showing you drills and different techniques, the topic we're going to cover today in many ways is what I think is the most important. And it's unfortunately overshadowed. And I tell people, if you carry a gun for self-defense, either occupationally or because it's something you feel is necessary, particularly in today's world, there's a couple of factors that most people don't consider. And people say to me, well, I want to be a real good shooter. Okay. But the most important thing you need to have is a proper mindset. And proper mindset, the way I explain it, is really broken down into three categories of importance. Number one, importance-wise, is situational awareness. And people say, well, what's that? That means you need to be aware of what's in your environment, what's going on around you. Unfortunately, we live in a world today where everybody wants to walk around, if I can find the thing, everybody in the world wants to walk around with one of these things. And what happens to their attention span? They know what's going on approximately 2 feet in every direction, and they're oblivious to everything else. These things are the devil when it comes to situational awareness. Look at where you go anywhere in America. What do you see? People doing this stupid shit. If you're doing that, you have no clue what's going around you. So my opinion is, if you're any place where you can be compromised, don't take this out of your pocket. Situational awareness is such that anything that's in your environment that could be threatening, you need to be aware of. That means you keep your head on a swivel. You stop at a gas station, it's 11 o'clock at night, and you need to get gas on your way home. You get out, you do your thing, you put the nozzle in your tank. Now, before you do any of that, you need to look around. Who else is there? Is there anybody watching you? Look around and see what's happening. If there's somebody that you're not comfortable with, or somebody that alarms you, you know what? You got to figure that out real quick. Situational awareness is so important that if you are dialed in and you see something wrong, you know what? You can flee, you can leave. You can say, I got enough gas to get a couple more blocks and get out of that circumstance. That prevents you from being in a compromised situation. So again, it's a pretty simple one. Look around wherever you go. When you get ready to walk out of your apartment in the morning, or you get ready to walk out into the parking lot, look around. Who else is there? Who is looking at you? It's cultivated behavior, and if you don't work on it, you'll never get it. I always tell people there are two groups of people who typically have a good handle on situational awareness. Predators, and that carries over into the animal world, and prey. Predators are constantly looking for prey. And prey, generally speaking, are constantly watching for predators. You know, you look at most of the animal world, the prey typically have eyes on the side of their head because they can see more what's going on around them. If you look in the mirror, folks, our eyes in the front of our head, hence we're predators. So you tend to see pretty much in this fan, if you will, of awareness. Doesn't hurt to turn your head and look around you and see what's going on. And you do it casually. If you're in an urban environment and you think somebody may be watching you or following you walking down the street, and you can stop and look in a window. Look at the reflection. Is there somebody paying attention to me, watching me? Before you go to your car, you're coming out of the mall or wherever, and you're in a parking garage or parking lot. Before you start walking into harm's way, take a look around. Is there anybody else out? Is there somebody standing behind vehicles? Is there somebody anywhere looking at me? Figure out real quick, am I in a safe environment? If I'm not, you need to go to the next level. Second most important thing is decision-making skills. And this is where people really fall apart. Many people will look at something and say, the alarms are going off. My situational awareness tells me this doesn't look good. But you know what? They can't make a decision of what to do. It's like, oh, people will walk into a conflict or into a dangerous situation all the time going, oh shit, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Hoping that somehow things will work itself out. You've got to develop the ability to make a decision quickly. And in lieu of not being able to do that, the answer is turn around and go back where you came from. Stop. Don't proceed into a danger area trying to come up with a plan. Under stress, the conscious analytical brain doesn't work very well. The only thing that's going to work is somewhat what we call reflexive, things you've practiced in the past, such as turn around and go the other direction, stop, making eye contact with people. You are aware, look at the person, hey, I see you, you see me. And one of the things we learned in law enforcement a long time ago is most cops are good at spotting cons, ex-cons. You know what? They're pretty good at spotting cops too. So remember, awareness is real important. That's situational awareness. And when you go out into your community or out into your work environment, be aware of the fact of the things that's going on around you. Being surprised, having somebody walk up to you and tap you on the shoulder, oh, and you didn't know there, guess what? You're driving down the interstate, all of a sudden there's blue and red beacons behind you because you're exceeding the speed limit. That means, guess what? You weren't situation aware. A good driver keeps his eye on the road and checks his mirrors. You don't let somebody pull up beside you without knowing they're there. You constantly are aware of the fact, I want to know. And the best system is keeping your head on a swivel, looking around. Somebody said, well, but that's paranoid. No, that's being situationally aware. You don't want to be paranoid? Paranoid just means I'd like to be prepared. Decision making, it means that I've got a plan that I'm going to execute. It doesn't have to be exotic, it doesn't have to be complex, but such as I'm going to move to cover. I'm not going to get out of my car. I'm not going to turn my back on somebody I don't know or concerns me. Those things are terribly important. The third one we all fall back on is combat marksmanship. That's the one as gun guys we all want to focus on. I get guys say, well, I'm a master class USPSA or I'm a master class IDPA shooter and I'll be able to solve any problem I get into because I'm so good. Wrong. The most important thing you can do is not get into a situation. And once combat marksmanship comes into play, there's a real good chance you screwed up number one, which is situational awareness. Number two is decision making, if you allow yourself to get into it. Life sometimes deals you a bad card and you may be faced with combat marksmanship. A few months back, Wilson Combat in the Masterclass series introduced a video by Paul Howe, by the way, one of the best in the business. And that video was entitled Hostile or Friendly, Target Discrimination. Let me tell you something. One, I looked at, it only had like 12,000 views. It's not one of the best ones in the book as far as viewership, because you know what? Most people go, oh, well, how important is that? It is probably one of the best masterclass videos Wilson Combat's ever posted on target discrimination. Take the time, go back and look that up. Paul Howe puts out information that is fantastic. By the way, up until recently, it's somewhat restricted information. And you watch that video, what he really explains is when you come in contact with somebody, the first thing you got to do, who's the person? Is it somebody I know? Is it a police officer? Is my neighbor? In other words, do I know them? Who are they? Very quickly, on the back of that, what's their hands doing? Where are their hands? What's in the hands? Follow with the waistline. What do they got around their waistline? Where do weapons normally come from? From the waistline. And finally, you look at is basically the demeanor. Very quickly. And you practice to the point where if you're in the business, so to speak, you go through that process pretty quick. Who's that person? If it's somebody I recognize, okay, then I can somewhat de-escalate. What's in their hands? What's the waistline about? Demeanor. Do they look aggressive? Are they avoiding me? Are they making eye contact? Are they trying to avoid eye contact? What's their demeanor tell me about what threat they pose to me? And based upon that quick bam, 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 bam process, then you can come to the point of what we call decision making. Do I want to avoid contact? Do I want to go another direction? Do I want to set myself up for a good draw? What do I want to do? Situational awareness, look at Paul Howe's video on target discrimination. And then once you go through that process, then it'll help you come to what we'll understand as decision-making skills. If you follow his formula, it'll make the decision making real quick, especially when you say, what's the demeanor with this person? Does it look like somebody that's threatening? Do they look like they have an unusual interest in me? That will help your decision making skills. And of course, combat marksmanship, because we're gun guys and shooters and we all love that. But remember, in the real world, you don't have to be a great shooter. You need to be a good shooter. Fights are not won by greats. They're won by people that are good. And it takes situational awareness. It definitely takes quick decision-making skills. Remember that Paul Howell video. If you haven't watched it, folks, listen, go back and watch it and pay attention to what he says. He really X-rings it. And finally, practice your skills to the point where, guess what? You're competent and capable. Think about it. And remember, how well you shoot and what you shoot is really secondary to Rule 1, situational awareness, Rule 2, decision-making. Good luck. Stay safe. We'll talk to you the next time.